Welcome into a special interview edition of the Charlotte Soccer Show. I'm John Hayes. Danny Brams will join me in just a few minutes, as well as Independence manager Mike Jeffries for the second time this season. He joins us ahead of the Charlotte Independence and North Carolina FC in the USL1 Final this Sunday at 5 o'clock. Coach Jeffries will be with us, and stick around after that interview. You're going to hear from Gabriel Obertan, Independence winger and striker. An amazing story, a player that was born and raised in France, played for the youth national team, started his career with Bordeaux, ended up playing for Manchester United, playing for Newcastle as well. And this Sunday, at the tail end of his career, he's going to be playing for another trophy in another final. And it's so interesting to hear his perspective about this game and Coach Jeffries' perspective about this game as well. It's been a long time since the city of Charlotte has won a championship in a professional sport, and the Charlotte Independence in USL have a chance to do that this weekend. It's a great conversation. Please stick around, enjoy these interviews. Consider heading up to Cary, North Carolina for this final on Sunday. If you can't make it, the game is broadcast on ESPN2 at 5 o'clock, a perfect way to finish out your fall weekend, your first November fall weekend in the Carolinas. The Charlotte Independence playing for a trophy this weekend. It's really cool to say that. Congratulations to Coach Jeffries and his staff and the entire club for reaching the USL1 Final. Without further ado, stick around, enjoy these interviews. And we'll talk to you later this week with a special season in review episode. We'll have that Charlotte FC content coming back for y'all here later this week. We've already got that episode recorded, ready to go. We'll get that produced up and published for you. But for now, enjoy these interviews. Danny, we're joined by Independence manager Mike Jeffries. He's here ahead of the USL1 Final on Sunday in Cary, North Carolina, where the Independence will be playing for its first USL championship. How cool is that?
Dare we say the greatest soccer mind in the Carolinas?
We could say it. I mean,
flattery will get you everywhere. You're off to a good start.
Coach,
Welcome, Coach.
You're in the final. Welcome back to the show. I told you before we started recording, it feels like full circle. Before the season, we sat in these chairs. We talked about the 2023 campaign and potentially playing for a trophy, and you have that opportunity this weekend.
Really excited about it, and even before the season, I felt like we had a good group, a good returning cast, and we're able to add some key guys, and guys that have been here before and have a good experience. So it's fantastic that we're still talking and that we're still in it, and that's really a credit to the guys and what they've put into the season and the mentality they've had over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, the guys, you're not kidding as far as putting in 120 minutes, playing and holding that clean sheet for all that time in Omaha, where it felt like it looked like it was 25 degrees. I don't know, you were there on the sidelines. What type of effort did the guys put into that match?
I thought it was, really a gritty, hard fought effort, and I mean, we have a couple plays where we're, scrambling and clearing balls off the line. But the amount of sort of dirty running that the guys had to do against a very good Omaha team and attacking team was incredible, and the guys just kind of fought through it. When the game settled, we felt like we had a couple decent half chances and maybe weren't quite able to break them down. But mostly I thought it was just a really gritty defensive effort and battle.
Love that.
I like to think I know everything, but you just posted a coach term on me that I'd never heard before, dirty running. What is that? Like, I was watching the game. I did see a lot of running. What's dirty running?
When you have to recover and run back 80 yards, it's just not much fun.
Yeah. And there's no, the only goal is survival, not victory.
Yeah, the only goal is to prevent the other team from getting a good chance, and that's not the fun part. Running forward 80 yards to get on the end of something, nobody ever seems tired at that moment.
Yeah, I get it. So,
well, let me just say, there's one player, I don't know if I'd have to look at the statistics. I know you're tracking these guys. Someone that I enjoyed talking to on the show this year, A.O. Flanagan, one of my favorite players on the squad. I can just picture him, somebody who loves to get forward, someone making as many dirty runs as possible. I bet you Flanagan makes a ton of those.
He did for sure, because as you said, he does love to get forward, and every once in a while you got to come back when it breaks down. So
Yeah, and you guys did have your chances in that match, but you're right. It was a scramble at the end. It was holding on for 120 minutes. What are you saying to the guys? What are you admonishing from the sidelines? In your coach's box. What are you screaming in those moments when you know it's do or die for a save?
I mean, a lot of it's shape and organization, where we want to put guys, but some of it is mentality and concentration, and just being tuned in. Some of it's just a quick heads up on where one of their players is making a run or what's going on, or just to be alert on different things during set pieces.
Austin Pack, obviously an amazing performance, record-setting season, and just a history-making season in this league for this club.
Did you see him get honored this week twice? He was named USL Keeper of the Year. And I thought, and this was more important for me, he got voted by his peers as best keeper in the league as well, which I think is pretty cool. Danny, Austin Pack, is he the best keeper in Charlotte?
We'll flatter him too. We'll give him flatter, and he's not even in the room, but I think it's true. And he came up clutch both. In the PK shootout, he didn't make any saves, right? It was just a miss for Omaha.
He was there, though.
He was making some good guesses, and he was putting pressure on guys, and he got us to the PK shootout. Tell me what you thought you would get from Austin Pack when we first sat in these same 3 chairs months ago, and then what you ended up getting. What was the expectation gap there?
Not as big. The expectation gap is not as big as you would imply by the question.
Okay.
I have every confidence in Austin from the beginning of the year. Obviously he played regularly 2 seasons ago, 21, and did a tremendous job in that year. I think this year he's been called on a lot more, and he's come through. He's been an excellent shot stopper, and we always knew that that's what he was. And he's been worked hard, and he's become very calm in his distribution. He's worked hard and become a good leader of the back group, and been positive in those areas as well. Got tested a ton this game with Omaha's service in the box, and he's handled that really well, coming for balls, collecting balls, boxing and getting them out, and so forth. So those things are areas that he's improved and sort of exceeded maybe where he was at the beginning of the year. But we've always had good confidence in him and a belief that he's can be the goalkeeper that he's been this year.
Yeah, he's an absolute baller. He's been a pleasure to watch this season. There's no doubt about that. I'm expecting him to have a good game on Sunday too.
And I love a coach that has high expectations for his players. That was what was implied by the question.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So post match, we saw the celebration in the locker room. We saw the feeling on the field of jubilation as well. What was the plane ride like home, and how quickly did you get the guys back to work prepping for this match?
Everybody was wound up, and the locker room was sort of super high energy, as you saw and noted. And I think once we settled into the plane ride, everybody was ready to rest and relax a little bit. And then coming back this week, there's been no sort of hangover from being in the final. It's I think everyone's excited to be there, but recognizes it as a good opportunity and has been pretty focused on work and so forth. The beginning of this week has been, as you'd expect, a little bit of recovery. That's a game that took a lot out of us, but physically, not just the running, but it was a hard game physically as well. And so we focused a little bit on recovery, but we've had a couple good sessions, and guys are ready to be specific to NCFC.
Yeah, I didn't really think about the extra day of rest. Is a huge yes. plus ahead of the final. Nice job by the USL getting it scheduled that way, and with NCFC, having what seemed like an easier win to me. Probably didn't work as hard in that match, where that extra day could really help this squad. And it's Wednesday as we're recording this. What does the rest of the week look like?
We're actually we've trained a couple times. We're taking tomorrow off again as a recovery, and then Friday, Saturday train, and then we'll head down after training on Saturday to Cary and stay there. Team meal Saturday night, and then ready for the game on Sunday.
An in-state championship game.
Right. I mean, Carolina's affair.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
North Carolina affair. Yeah,
exactly. It's amazing that it turned out this way. There's a ton of squads here in town that we talk about on the show. Obviously, Charlotte FC, Crown Legacy, Charlotte Independence. the new Women's Super League team that is launching here, the Pineville Hops, even some Queens coverage we've had on the show, and there's one team left standing, and so
we're happy to be that one for sure.
Not only do you own the city bragging rights, you got a chance at the state bragging rights now.
And when was the last time a professional team brought a championship home to Charlotte? We were talking about this before the show. The Panthers never won the Super Bowl, so this is a chance to feel like champions in our city. I can't wait. So.
I still can't. I've been racking my brain. I asked Ashley before the interview. I asked you. I have no clue when the last championship was at any level for a Charlotte professional sports team. Probably before, maybe, I don't know if the Eagles won a championship, Coach.
That's all the pressure.
I know they played in the final, the year before I came in. I don't know.
No pressure. Won. That's all. That's all we're saying.
No pressure, especially. It's in state too. The big rival.
Exactly.
But that.
Well, I imagine is it? I'm not going to say easier, but is it just sort of guide your preparation when it's an opponent you know so well? It's more about mentality and just reminding guys what they have to do instead of instructing, like, hey, you need to do this. They already know it probably at this point of the season.
Yeah, I think one of the things at League One is a relatively small league, so we've seen each other a bunch of times. Oddly enough, we haven't seen NCFC for a while, just the way the schedule played out this year. We played them earlier.
It was smelling a lot better in town. So
it is a little bit interesting, and they've been. Like Omaha, they've been very strong of late. They're kind of settled on the lineup and the style of play and so forth. Maybe like us, I feel like we've both been really consistent the whole year. Not long losing streaks and always kind of finding ways to win. And they've been in the top. We've both been in the top 6 probably the whole year. They've been at the top the whole year. So it does make it interesting from that perspective, and then certainly. We've had a lot of heated games from I think the first Open Cup game there in 2015. We probably had just heated games every year against them in some way, shape, or form. So this one will just be the kind of.
I can tell you it means a lot to the fans. Like the fans are very happy, not just for the logistical chance, for the fact that many of them have a chance to get to Cary, at suburb of Raleigh, Durham. It's just that they hate this club, so it's a real rivalry. It's a real deal.
It's a great rivalry.
A Derby match for the cup. What could be better?
Yep, no question about that, and it's a huge plus for us. Both the travel for us is nice. Weather will be a little nicer, hopefully, than Omaha, and then
it's not. It's cold. It's cold still, right? Is it still going to be cold on Sunday? We don't know.
No,
it's cold this week.
But most importantly, it'll be great for to get fans and get our fans up there as well, and have a support. At the game. Huge.
Tremendous support from the Mech Reserves, from the Independence Ultras. Right, yeah. Those guys have been going hard all season long, and they're going to see it through to the final match.
And if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you don't know, I'd be surprised, but the Independents are putting a bus together to get people up there. So if you need those details, check the social media.
We'll make sure that we put the information.
We already have. We already retweeted it
in the description of the podcast too. We'll make sure we do that, so you don't have to leave the app, Danny. So I've got 2 more questions for you before we let you get out of here. I know Danny might have another one as well, but first, we've managed, our FIFA Ultimate squads, right? You've actually managed in IRL, in real life. When it's time for a final, like the cliche is that you throw the tactical book out the window, you think about your squad, and you've got 90 minutes, maybe 120 to get it done, and maybe you might make some decisions that you typically wouldn't on a normal match day midway throughout the season. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you for any state secrets, but what has it been like in the lab this week, preparing for the final? Are you thinking any differently? Have you had the opportunity to maybe think outside the box?
We always do try to think outside the box, I think, and try to be prepared. Obviously, we do a little bit extra with video, with the guys and things like that, in terms of it being a final, and try and help prepare them. I think when you talk about that, sometimes it all gets thrown out the window. I think the pressure of the final, dictates that sometimes, and we definitely have discussions and plans, for the if this, and
gotcha.
and want to be prepared for it as best you can. But you never kind of know how the game's going to play out, and you have to be as ready as you can be for, whatever happens, whether it's a goal early in the game or, whether it's 0-0 at halftime and you're trying to figure out how to get at them. And there's always surprises. Teams have little tweaks, whether it's on set pieces or whether it's in how they pressure. You always try to be ready for it, but you have to deal with that in the moment.
Maybe create some chaos.
2 questions, one quick one. Is there any team news that is public you can share as far as any injuries? Dane Kelly wasn't available for the Omaha squad. Do you expect him back, or do you just don't know? Just wondering.
So of course I'm going to answer that as I just don't know. Okay. How else would you expect me to answer that?
Seriously.
This is the manager's press conference before the final. I'm trying to get some news here. What can I say?
We don't need to let him know, Dan.
The real question that I want to end on is just the connection with the fans in this whole season. One of the coolest moments that I had all year was after the home match at Legion Stadium, where we clinched the playoffs. Independence clinched, we're going to the playoffs. And then a lot of people came back over here to EPR, where we are now, watching the Charlotte FC match later that night. We were on the patio because it was college football season. Had college football relegated soccer back out to the patio instead. And you came walking back to EPR with your family, I believe, and the crowd out there that was watching the Charlotte FC stopped watching the Charlotte FC match and got up and gave you a standing ovation as you walked into the place, as you walked into the team offices here. And I wanted to know how that felt, and just what do you think about this fan base that has supported this club really strongly on the verge of a historic match?
Yeah, I love the fan base. Has always been great for us as a team, and they've been fantastic toward me. I really appreciate it. Maybe a little too much grief about my shirt sometimes, but I've learned to handle that. But I have so much respect and appreciation for them and for what they put in, and we try hard as a club to be respectful. The guys try to be very good about making sure they thank them and always go over and that we have a good relationship, because we appreciate it so much, and it motivates the guys so much to have them there and have them pushing and prodding us to be our best. So it's definitely a two-way street.
My last question is about the player that we're about to sit down with after you, Coach. It's Gabriel Obertan, somebody that has came to this club and made an impact as you're preparing for the final. Obviously, his experience is massive for this game, but just overall in general, when he comes to this club, his ability to work with some of these young players, to set an example as a professional. What's it been like to have him as part of this team?
I mean, if you're coaching a League One club and you have a player with his background that just basically almost walks onto the team in a fluky way, and it's something you just feel fortunate that it worked out that way. Within the group, he's been fantastic. He's obviously has a lot of experience to bring to it. I think it's a credit to Jim, Dan, the organization, that we feel like we have a setup that is capable of making a good impression for a player that's been at halfway decent clubs. And is comfortable here and so forth. So, it's a credit that we feel pretty good about. We have here the group of players and how we are able to conduct the day-to-day. And then, for what he's provided is certainly a guy that helps us win games. Most importantly, helps the guys be better.
Some real nice goals down the stretch.
Huge goals.
He got better as the year went on, I felt.
Yeah, so it's definitely expectations. Coming into a final, those are times when you have the experienced guys and feel like they're going to deliver in those games for sure.
Well, we can't wait until Sunday. It's the USL League One Final, and what we're going to do, Danny, is we're just going to be chanting up the Jacks all week long. It's
awesome.
It's something for us to do. It's really a labor of love. I think the Charlotte Independence for us, it's been such a joy. We love the grassroots of the club. We love that these players just are playing for the passion of the game. They're playing to be in the game, and I know you're coaching for those same reasons. So, congratulations on a fantastic season.
Thank you,
and thanks so much for taking the time for us today.
All right.
Danny, we've got one of our most special guests of the season on the show right now. We've been waiting for this moment. It's Gabriel Obertan.
On
He's
your
here
wish
with
list.
us.
Like, so this is on your wish list when we started this show.
And you know what? I didn't put the note on the wish list that was just a few days before the final.
Right.
Where Charlotte Independence will be playing for the final.
We would have been happy to talk to this guy anytime, but a few days before a final to go win the title of the league is absolutely incredible.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're sitting here at Elizabeth Parlor Room. We've been following the 2023 campaign. I know you're playing some of your best football of the season right now. How does it feel to be getting set for this final on Sunday?
It's a great feeling. I mean, it doesn't really matter the level you play at. I've played in great leagues, even great players, but that feeling you get when you actually get to achieve something and you spend 8-9 months doing it, and you get to possibly put like the cherry on top is it's a hard feeling to describe. You know?
You see it from afar as a journalist in the business, right? You know, when that moment arrives after the final and the trophy is handed over, you can just see it on players' faces, and it's like we can't relate because we haven't been in that moment before. But hearing you say that just really puts into perspective that this is what you play for.
For sure, and you know, I'm more like most of the players were younger than me, and I'm towards the end, but I get to still have fun. I enjoy being with the guys around. Mike is a fantastic coach. I can't complain. I don't think picking Charlotte was really random for me, but I don't think I could have picked any better.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about 15 plus years in the game, and you talk about we're playing here in the United States, not the game you grew up in. You grew up playing in Europe, right? Some of the greatest like academies, and obviously for people who don't know, we kind of haven't given your resume. You know, you've been with Manchester United, you've been with Newcastle United, you've been with Bordeaux, trained with PSG. These are the biggest clubs in the world, right? And you know, you come here and you're playing, and it starts when it's cold in March, and it ends when it's freezing cold out in Omaha in a semifinal that goes 120 minutes. In the middle of all that, it's hotter than you've ever been in your entire life for a few weeks, you know, so like that campaign and that beginning, middle, end, and coming to the end of what you said, that really, like, I'm so struck by the fact that that's where you went right away. And how's it feel in the locker room when you're with the guys, and like what can you share with these younger players who are experiencing this for the first time?
But first of all, the finish, the penalty kick is always special. The stress is quite high.
Oh yeah.
Adrenaline is kicking, so you get to the last piquet, you can finally release, get to the changing room, and it's just, for me, I was happy. I've done finals before in my life, and like I said, that feeling you get when you get to achieve something is different. But before, I was younger. Now I get to see younger players actually enjoying the moment, being like let loose, and the smile on the faces. So I'll probably say they were happier than me. But that's what made my night, is just seeing these guys that for most of them is the highlight of their career so far. And with age, I think you also take it differently. So I danced a little bit, you know. There was no champagne yet. We'll wait for Sunday, but it's the thing is you actually celebrate, but you also think about the game. Maybe I switched on quick thinking about that game coming up. So you celebrate, but it's not over. So yeah, you take the night, but the day after I was in the gym already. So I want to go all the way and enjoy my vacation after, not before.
Do you think there was more maybe celebration in the other night than there would have been after a semifinal, just because it was penalty kicks and it was so cold and tough conditions and everything?
The tough conditions.
It was really hard. It was like you were celebrating that game for what it was. Probably, I'm sure.
I feel like a lot was against us. I mean.
They're the top seed,
everybody's
right?
thinking Omar is going to do it, blah, 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 the polls, and they're going to, if they beat us, they're going to go all the way, blah, blah, blah. And so there was a lot against us. There was the cold, there was traveling away, their fans.
They literally have a rock star owner, Nick Hexum, the lead singer of 311, the rock band. He owns their team. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah. They got it all going for them, is what I'm saying.
And I won't lie, when you get to also ruin someone's season. It feels, not ruin it, but they've put so much and you've put so much and you come on top. There's something also about that feeling is it's pretty great.
It's the competitive spirit.
Exactly.
And you have to have that competitive spirit to have the career that you've had in this game.
And that game was also they pushed so hard, getting these corners, and they have the size. They kept pushing. Austin was fantastic. So there was a lot in that game. The way it was played, we have to win it now. That's what I said after that. If we win this game on PKs, we have to win the final.
It make it all worth it, right?
Yes,
yeah. You got to stick to landing. You got to. It's like it's been a great story this season following Independence. We've been there from the hot start to a little bit of a rougher patch in the middle of the season, getting hot at the end, winning key games. You making a huge contribution. I think I told Coach Jeffries as I've watched, I thought you got better as the year went on this season, and you're scoring goals and making plays. It's a joy to watch.
I want to say this publicly. I was going to say it to you privately, but for this interview specifically, I want to hear so much about your youth career. Growing up in France and playing with the national team, and then playing for the big clubs that Danny mentioned as well. And we'd love to do that in a future episode. Sure. But I think right now what this club deserves and what the Independents deserve is, I want to go back to your comment about randomly picking Charlotte, right? I want to go back to that moment. Again, you did some work with Charlotte FC,
yes,
and you were here in town, and you had the opportunity, I'm sure, to look at a handful of clubs and say,
yeah, but you should. Charlotte FC and the summer last season, the preseason, that was a thing. But I was already with Charlotte before that.
Yes.
So
you have to 21 season.
Yes.
You have to go back to the USL season where I was a free agent and my best friend signed, Sylvain Marveau at the time. So he signed at the club. My wife is American, so I'm already in the States. I'm on vacation with my wife, waiting to get signed back in Europe. So meanwhile, I'm just in America waiting. He signs for Charlotte, and he's not the most social type of guy. So I knew he was gonna come, stay in his hotel room, go to training, and do nothing. And I just told my wife, I'm gonna be there for like 10 days. Just go help him settle, pick an apartment. We discovered the city a little bit.
Help your buddy out.
Yeah, that's it. And that's literally my best friend. So I had no issue doing that. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I want to stay fit. I'm gonna train. I'm gonna at least ask if the coach will let me train. I'm not asking for anything. I just want to train. So he trains. Mike's assistant at the time, Gainsey, just recognizes me. So I come and watch training, and in the end, I just asked if I could train, and Mike was fine with it. So I grabbed my cleats, train. Probably after one, I don't know if it was the first session or the second session, he took me aside and said, "You want to stay?" And I was like, I just called my wife, told her. And my experience in Europe didn't end up on the best terms, so I took like 2 days to think about it, and I just decided to stay. So that's why it was so random, because if my friend would have picked San Diego, I might be in San Diego right now, but he picked Charlotte, and it's fate,
I can only imagine what it must have been like for Mike and his assistant Gainsey, as you mentioned. They're just like starting the season. Okay, guys, get this year going. And all of a sudden, an international striker, just who's with your pedigree, just like shows up. It's like, oh, he's a free agent. Let's bring him too. It's just absolutely amazing. Like, you're so low key about it, but like I'm just thinking about it from their point of view. It must have been just like a heavens opened up type of moment. But what once you decide to make that stay here, what did you do to connect with the city of Charlotte? Like how since Sylvain was like, what did he prove to be like you thought? Just trying to stay in his hotel the whole time and then not go out.
We lived in different. I always throughout my career, I always picked to choose close to training. Mm-hmm. So I was in Matthews. Sylvain was uptown. So we would see each other training after, get lunch and all that. But most of the time he was uptown. Matthews first. Then I moved to Waverly, so if you know what that is, the rear farms and the big lifetime. And I just moved now to Piper Glen, so near Ballantyne. So I've experienced a few different parts of Charlotte, but at the same time, he was by himself. I had my wife and daughter, and I wanted to be like greener, less urban environment. Mm-hmm. and this is the right choice. I love where I live. I don't get to come uptown that much, but when I do, I like the restaurants. I like the nightlife, the bars, the brewery, all that. It's just I don't, like I said, I would go mostly on off season to LA or Miami to work out, but my off season was 5 weeks, so I had to get a trainer and work. But Charlotte is the perfect compromise for me. I would not move to LA or Miami. I'd rather stay here.
Or San Diego.
Or San Diego.
Even though it is nice there.
It's nice, but the tax is crazy.
That's very true. Well said. And Danny, for what it's worth, I think there's so many transplants in the city. Danny and I both have been here for almost 10 years now.
I came from Texas. He came from Philly.
From Pennsylvania, and we both feel the same way. You especially you get into South Charlotte. It's a beautiful place to be. It's a great place to raise a family, and you talk about the city growing and the culture just period growing here. The soccer culture is growing here
as well.
And Charlotte FC has really helped that momentum as any typical MLS squad and a new franchise would. But I think the trickle down effect is absolutely real. I mean, can you sense that happening around town and feel this kind of love for soccer growing within the city limits?
Yes. I also think that in America, the people identify to the city real fast. They'll show up, even if they don't really understand the sport or whatever it is, they'll show up and show love to the city. So obviously, like you said, Charlotte FC showed up. It's a bigger team. They get bigger amount of fans. But we have like a core of fans that stick with us from the start that just... Sometimes I tell my wife, I say, I don't know why they're still showing up for us, but this is...
they made a video about it. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think I saw some of them in Tormenta last year during playoff. We lost. They still showed up. They'll come when they can. It rains, they come, they sing. It's amazing to me that it doesn't matter the number, the quantity of people doing that, but it makes you want to play for them, for sure.
100%. Anytime I go to an independence match, and Danny is more of an ultra than I am, but when I get to a match, I'm right there behind the supporters, the Mech Reserves, the independence ultras. I mean, the vibe and the energy that they bring into that stadium. And you're right, it doesn't have to be 2,000 people. 20 people 50 people can set the stage for a soccer match, and they do incredibly well with that.
They literally got in a fight with the fire marshal of the city of Charlotte over lighting the blue smoke, after goals. The fire marshal tried to shut them around. They said, no, we're going to do our thing. And they got the clearance to do it. So, yeah, they care. They want to make it a spectacle. There's tifo there, and there's drums and everything. It's an amazing experience.
I think, and I'll just interject and say this, I think it's a really cool way for you to think about finishing your career. Like almost, because in youth soccer, it's very grassroots, right? You're doing it for the passion, for the love of the game. Mm-hmm. And full circle, you find yourself here at the tail end of your career playing, in a grassroots kind of vibe with players who are also doing it for the passion of the game. And I've got a tough question for you. The final on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about what happens on Monday? Have you thought about this potentially being one of the last matches you might play, or is that something to maybe talk with the family about over the off season?
I didn't really think about it. It's just for now. In my mind, I'm still going to play. And it'd be too early for me on Monday to just decide. The tough part for me now is the off-season is very long compared to Europe. You finish the season, get 4 or 5 weeks. You don't have time to really lose anything, especially if you keep working out. Mm-hmm. Here, 4 months. I remember the first couple of weeks of preseason with Mike. It's like my knees, my joints, and everything. Then it gets better, but that long off-season, if you get too comfortable, at my age, it becomes difficult to get the engine started again. But I want to play. I feel like I'm still bringing something. I can help. I have a great relationship with Mike. He understands me when I need a break, when I need at training. He's not really trying to get me to do everything. It's one of the best relationship I had with a coach, because also my age makes it so I can talk to him. I can really be honest about how I feel, and that's
You might be closer to him in age than some of the teammates,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. So
or at least
he's,
close. At least in mindset, for sure.
yeah. And
It goes back to kind of what you said earlier about at the end of that semi when the younger guys were happier
Yes.
than you, but I would say it's more like a different type of
Yes.
happiness. It's
Yes.
like they're more euphoric, whereas you're more satisfied and
Yes.
content.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if the
Yeah, that
distinction
makes sense.
much
I think that's
sense.
exactly what it is. That makes sense.
And that ties into where you're going to be in that stage, obviously after the season's over. But I think you'll be a lot more content with a trophy.
For sure.
You know the opponent, NCFC. What do you want to do? How many goals do you want to score against these guys on Sunday?
I take 0 goal and a victory anytime. So we can even they can score 2 own goals. I don't care. I just want to win it at this point. I know them. The fact that it's North Carolina as well makes it interesting. And not everything relies on that, but you want to be the best team in North Carolina. We play them. I think the record is like a draw. We won, they won. But I have a good feeling. I know pressure is going to play a role for both teams. I feel like I've seen worse situation pressure-wise, so it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a close game for a good amount of minutes when we start the games. But it's a final, Final. Anything could happen. I could be wrong. It could be 3-0 halftime for us, obviously, but.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's a final. I can't wait to play it. I wish I told like a few teammates today. I wish I could sleep at least on the training is hard enough as training. I just want to play the game.
What a great feeling that must be, just to know that you just and it goes back to the passion and for the love of the game and the anticipation of match day. I mean, you put in so much work, and it doesn't have to be a final match day. Sure, that's the highest of highs, but there's no feeling like match day, and Sunday's as good as it gets.
The team, who on this team? When I ask you, just like I'm sure you love all your teammates. I'm not asking you to rank anybody, but when I'm saying when you're out there, whether it's a game and training like scrimmage, or whether you're out there playing a tight semifinal match on the road, who are the teammates that just bring you joy to go out there and work with? I'm thinking of like other veteran guys like Miguel Ibarra, who's played at MLS level, a guy like Omar Cease, who I just think is like a revelation, like just in terms of controlling a midfield, and just like. Who helps you become the best player you can be out there in terms of that you're playing with?
Yeah, I think Miggy and Cis are the 2 players that just.
I nailed it.
That because they understand somehow. They understand how to use me. They understand my qualities. When I slow down the game, I control the game. They pass the ball early. There's little details that they just get. They trust in passing the ball to me even if I'm marked. There's a little stuff like that Cis will do. Even becomes to a point where like Dane will tell him, stop passing the ball to Gabi. But if it works. So Cis is very understanding of my game, and he is a good player. Period. There's just Miggy, his experience, the way he plays as well, the way he drops, get the ball, help me.
He has like no position out there. He'll go from center back to striker to winger. It's
help
crazy.
Me set up most plays, and but the guy I would say I'm closest to is also the guy who's the furthest from me on the field, and it's Austin. So because he's been with me from USL, then he left, came back, but he's an older player too. He's very chill, and he's close. He's not old like me yet, but he's getting there, so we get along, and Austin is probably the guy I would hang out the most with.
I love that. Yeah, we've talked glowingly about Austin. We think he's an amazing keeper. We talked with Coach Jeffries about the awards that he's won this season and voted by his peers. I think that's the coolest thing, voted by his peers as the best goalkeeper in the league. And that's got to mean a lot when your peers vote you as one of the best in the league.
Yeah, the peers and coaches, I think, is what matters the most. Then the fans have their preferences. It doesn't matter. They might like a goalkeeper, a striker. It's very broad. I think when your peers say you're the best, it feels different.
one thing that is really important to me on this show, and something that Danny and I talk about a lot, is the ability to lead, and why soccer is so different than so many other sports, in that the fitness that it takes, the athleticism that it takes to go the full 90, to maybe even go the full 120.
Yeah.
Right? So
if you want to take a PK, you got to play 120. You can't sub off at the 118th minute.
No. Yeah, you can't. And so for me, it's like when I'm thinking about that game, I'm thinking about the person that steps up to the spot for the last kick. I'm thinking about Spielman. I'm thinking about the center back. Of all the people who step up to seal the game, it's the center back in that situation. You mentioned Omar Cease, and I think both Spielman and Cease are coaching high school soccer this season as they're playing as well. I mean, I think that's the coolest thing in the world. What were you guys thinking about when Spielman stepped up and it was his opportunity?
I had full trust. This guy is. He's a surprise for some, but I remember the first week he trained with us, it was a trial, and I told Mike, where was this guy before? And he told me college and some team in Chattanooga. And we eventually, I think he left, came back, signed, and this guy should be somewhere else. We're lucky to have him. It's his first season as a pro, I guess, but the composure on the ball, the way he reads the game. I don't want to say too much because then he's going to listen and be like, Gabi said I'm the best. No. But he plays like a guy who's had a few seasons, like a seasoned vet.
Totally.
And that's impressive. He never panics on the ball. He's looking always for the right play. Anticipate well. He's got size. I'm glad we found him. I'm really actually.
Don't tell him I said this, but he plays center back like a high school teacher would play center back. And you could convince me that he's 45 years old and he's the head coach at the high school down the street, and he's just giving you guys some minutes. And then you watch him play the full 90, and you go, wow, this guy is good, and he plays like an absolute beast at the back.
I feel like that's just a theme with this team. We're lucky to have him at every side, whether it's Spielman, you, Ibarra. It's just like. All these guys feels like a special collection of talent that's brought together for a special purpose, and that's why I feel so good about this final. And I'm really excited. I want y'all to bring a title home to Charlotte, and I want to see a great game. I can't wait.
Yeah, good luck on Sunday. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Pleasure,
yeah, it's been a blast to have you. And I'm going to promise we call the TIFOs the tremendous friends of the show, who listen to the show. We're going to have Gabi back, and we're going to talk about a lot more on the show at some point here in the off season.
There's a few beers around.
Oh well,
Thank you.
It said open at 4:00 on Wednesday on the front door, and we actually had to let us in.
I'm not going to judge you guys. I'm just saying, if you want me back.
It'll be after the final, so you can definitely share one with us in the first round.